So there are 3 spots on a trombone hand slide where you might need to replace the soft stuff that wears out once in a while. The first and probably most obvious is the water key cork. We already dealt with that with small brass. We don't need to go over that again. Everything that applied on those trumpet videos applies right here. The next is at the very end here, at the end of the crook. There's usually a bumper there, or I should say there's usually a missing bumper there. I would recommend getting a few of these from your local music shop and just keeping them on hand. You don't need to do anything except press fit it on, and that should stay right there. That's really hard to get off. It's not going to just accidentally fall off. That can be very, very beneficial if, you know, the kid likes to lean on their instrument during band, or is maybe a little klutzy and drops the instrument during band sometimes. That bumper right there, that can save you a lot of damage, because that's going to take most of the shock instead of putting a big old dent in your slide crook. You might say, well, what's the big deal if there's a dent down there? It's not in the hand slide. Well, that will actually change the span of that U right there, and it will make a very, very sluggish hand slide, even if the dent isn't in the slide tubes and is in just the crook. So I would recommend spending a couple bucks just to get a few of those to keep on hand. And then the last spot where you might have to change some soft stuff is actually up here. They call it the cork barrel. It's rarely actually cork that's up in here. It used to be cork all the time. It could still be cork, but it's almost always going to be felt now. And once in a while it's going to be a spring, actually. The spring's pretty cool because you can go like in from first position. So if you needed to raise the pitch a little bit even more, even though you were already in first position, the spring gives you just a little thing to push against. But you don't see springs too often. You hardly ever see cork anymore. It's almost always going to be some kind of felt in here. So this is a Yamaha. So if it's the original, it's going to be a felt. Let's see what's up in there. So I'll take the slide lock off. That should just unscrew. And then I've got these tools from Fareese. Each one's a little bit different, but they all do the same thing. They are going to be able to go right up one side of the inner slide there, and the pointy end is hopefully going to be able to dig out the cork that's up, or I'm sorry, the felt that's probably up in there. So just kind of twist it around a few times. And if you really just can't grab a hold of it with one of them, try a different one. The different angles on the point there, that can help sometimes. So if I can't get it with this one, I'll try for a couple minutes, and then I'll just try another one of the tools. Oh, there we go. I think I got it already, actually. So yeah, there you go. So that was probably originally white or kind of cream color. You can see how much grease and dirt it's collected over the years. So it's always good to replace those once in a while. And if you're ever going to wash the instrument or tell the kid to wash it themselves, definitely help them out. Get these bumpers, get these felt bumpers out, and put a new one in after the instrument's been cleaned. And then always check, there's nothing saying that there couldn't be more than one bumper up each side too. So once you get the first bumper out, kind of feel around in there, and that's definitely metal on metal, so there's no more felt bumpers up there. There should be felt bumpers up this one too. You would repeat this whole same process on the other side of the slide. So now that I've got that out, I need to put new bumpers in. And J.L. Smith makes some cool ones. It's just 2 different sizes. They just call one for bass trombone, one for tenor trombone. I have no problem with putting a bass size in a tenor trombone if it fits well. I have no problem putting a tenor size in a bass trombone if it fits well. But typically, the big ones go in the bass, the little ones go in tenor. And then if you don't have any of these, you can actually fall back on, remember our felts from the trumpet top caps when we were aligning the valves? You can actually find one of those that works. That's fine too. So this is a student trombone, so pretty small bore, so I'm thinking the tenor size is going to work. It's kind of a snug fit. Yeah, I think it's going to work though. So I'm just going to push that on there, and you just got to get past the stocking. You hopefully remember that from Trombone Tech. The slide's going to be a little bit thicker down at the bottom here. So once you can push it past the stocking part, it'll be a lot easier. There we go. Push it up there as far as I can. I'm going to go back to that same tool that I used to remove the old felt. I'm going to go pointy end first, just because that's really helpful for tucking in the new felt. And then once I've got it all tucked in, I'll take the cork barrel tool off, flip it around to the blunt side. I'll put that end on first. And make sure it's up there. Good. No need for adhesive or anything like that. That should stay up there just fine. I'm going to put it back on. So, got to put my slide lock back on, right? It's threaded, so we should grease it. The easiest is just to put the grease on the threads that are on the Handslide. Again, you'll be glad you did if this doesn't move for a long time. The Handslide back together, put it all the way up into first position, and then lock the slide and make sure that's easy to do. Because if that felt's too thick or too thin, we're not going to have good locking action here. So when I spin this around, that's like perfect actually. So I want it nice and snug there. If there was like a little bit of rattle there, that's okay. If there was a lot, say there was a big gap here and I could go like that, even with the slide lock engaged, it's time for another felt. We don't want that much. And likewise, if it's too thick, maybe you need to take some felt out or even cut a felt in half, because you don't want the kid to have to squeeze everything together to be able to activate the slide lock.